Good Monday evening. No, you surprised to see us, but welcome to Mancave Monday. Monday Mancave. Hey man, just step into the man cave, but make sure you take your daggone shoes off, please. It's me, it's the big guy KG, sitting in with the incomparable, the undefeated, the unsolicited Midnight Rider. How you feeling tonight, brother?
Good man. Stuff came in, Gotta represent my boy Prime, Coach Prime. Got my Colorado hat. Still a Notre Dame fan, but gotta still represent for my boy.
Yeah, because I was about to ask you about that. Hold on, man. Hold on now. You've been a little blasphemous now. Hold on now.
Oh no, I still got my Irish stuff. Which is how I represent. I mean, this is like one of the four main athletes I've always followed and watched. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, he's part of my big four. I think it's Deion, Kobe, Magic, and Gary Sheffield.
Gary Sheffield, former Yankee.
Yeah, that was his bad time in his life.
Lord, here we go. Here we go. We here for the sole purpose of one thing. And it's time to go dancing, ladies and gentlemen. The tournament is set. Teams are ready. We got the first four in. As well as the whole entire round of 64 ready. We got 2 days to do it. So we got today and tomorrow. We plan on doing 2 regions today and 2 regions tomorrow. And of course, we can knock out the first 4 while we do our regions. So with that being said, without further ado, let's go ahead and get this thing right. We're going to go full screen. So you won't be able to see us, but you can still hear our melodious voices. So, looking at this right now, let me open a tab. All right, Alabama's the number 1 overall seed. So, here's one of our first 4 in, and that's Texas A&M versus Southeast Missouri State. So that's the first one we got.
You mean Texas? That looks like Texas Corpus Christi.
Yeah, Corpus Christi. I'm sorry, Texas A&M Corpus Christi.
Yeah. We actually picking the play-in game.
Well, I mean, this is sacrificial lamb.
I mean, because I got Alabama winning this outright.
Okay.
It's gonna be interesting.
I got Alabama too. All right. Well, I didn't even ask you what region we was going to start in. So no, I do apologize, but we're starting in the South. Moving on to the Thursday game, Maryland, number 8 Maryland, local, versus another quote-unquote local team, West Virginia. Maryland drew the AC. Of course, that's hometown. What you calling it?
I just don't like this matchup. There was a couple teams I wouldn't want them to play, and this is one of them. I actually like West Virginia.
Ooh. For the sake of this particular bracket, we're going to go West Virginia, but I think Maryland can beat them just because Maryland is scrappy. I got a thing for Maryland. The 5 versus 12 on the 16th, which is Stone Cold Steve Austin Day. San Diego State, the Aztecs versus Charleston. The 5 versus the 12.
I don't think there's been a bracket when they've been in the tournament that I haven't picked Charleston. So I'm taking Charleston just because they're always one of those teams that when they get in, they provide a matchup problem. And they tend to win. They tend to make it out of that first weekend. So I'm going to go Charleston.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to go chalk. Let's go Charleston. And to those that are watching along, if you look at the comments, there is a link to join our private pool because, we do it like that and we love y'all. So we're going to do a private pool. Just no prize. Just try to see who can get the best brackets, so we all can be like, damn, my bracket's busted. So that link is in the comments. For those that are watching on YouTube and Twitch, give me 1 second. I'm coming with that as well. And I'm going to post that. It is on YouTube, and then I just have to post it on Twitch. And you said Charleston in that one. So I got Charleston. Okay, Virginia versus Furman. I'm going Virginia in this one. That's no doubt for me.
Again, another small school. Virginia doesn't like to score. I think Virginia's down their point guard, so I'm going Furman.
Furman. Hey, let's take the underdog. Next game, 6 versus 11. And that's on Friday, 3/17. Good old Creighton versus NC State. The Wolfpack, man. But I say Creighton.
I'm with you. I say Creighton too.
All right, Creighton it is. Another Friday game. UC Santa Barbara versus Baylor. Number 3 Baylor at that. You know what I noticed? Baylor has come up in recent years, and I guess you consider them a mid-major, but they've come up to play some really, really good ball. And I hate to bring it up and I hate to say it, but after the tragedy they had in the early 2000s out there, their basketball program has come back from that.
Well, I think the other thing too, I wouldn't even call them a mid-major. I mean, they play in the Big 12, and the Big 12 was the best conference this season in terms of depth. I think you can't really go too far in this tournament without coming across one of the teams from their division. So this is going to be an interesting year for them, especially. Every time I've seen them, I like them. So I'm going with Baylor in this matchup. But I haven't them and somebody else I saw a lot of. K-State. It's another team that is I think I'm gonna have some issues with my brackets. I already know it because I'm stuck on 2 teams right now, and that's not normally me.
You know what's crazy? That's why you got to do more than one. Not even.
Well, that's the problem.
You got to do more than one.
I've done 2 or 3 already, and I keep ending up with the same 2 teams in the final 2. Which is it happens. Sometimes I get stuck on teams because of an impression I get. And right now I'm stuck on a team because of an impression I got. You'll see.
Okay. I'm supposed to be writing this stuff down as well, but I got 3 different paper brackets. So man, next game, 7 versus 10, Missouri versus Utah State. I say Missouri.
I'll agree with that. I'm gonna take Utah State though to cover whatever the number is.
Always the betting man.
Yeah.
Last but not least, in the round of 64, number 2 Arizona versus Princeton. If we were still talking Pete Carril, I say Princeton all day long. I love it when Princeton's an underdog, but they don't run the backdoor offense. They don't run the Princeton offense as well as Pete Carril and JT3 did when they were up there. Actually, hey, Xavier, tell Mom come to the studio real quick. I want to see if she still remember. But I actually taught my wife about the Princeton offense. Do you remember that I sat you down and I explained the whole entire Princeton offense to you? And you was like, what the hell? You remember that?
Yes.
And you remember you was like, well, why is that relevant? And I was like, you got to go back door, because when you go back door, nobody stops.
Kevin.
You go back door what?
Nobody stopping you. Nope. Back door all day long.
Sir.
Princeton offense.
Sir.
Yes.
PG-13.
We're talking about Arizona versus Princeton.
PG-13.
Rest in peace to Pete Carril and that backdoor offense. Because who was that they ran out? Who did they run out of the tournament a couple of years ago running that?
I know they gave Georgetown hell one year.
Yes,
Maybe they
I
gave
do
him
remember
hell
that.
both times.
I mean, they didn't give him hell like Florida Gulf Coast though, but they gave him hell.
Yeah.
But Arizona versus Princeton.
Arizona.
I will give you that. That is the round one. We're going all the way to the championship. So we're going to jump to the next one, or you want to finish out this round all the way?
Let's finish out this bracket and then go down to the next one.
Okay.
Because it's gonna be easier on you because you're scrolling. That you don't have to scroll through all 8 of the regionals and then the 4 and whatever. We can kind of figure out where we go and map it out.
Okay, that works for me. So let's go Alabama versus West Virginia. Number 1 overall seed, Alabama versus West Virginia.
So this becomes, I think this is Alabama, but I think West Virginia gives them a scare. This is that game that they'll look back on and kind of count their lucky stars that they got out of it, and it's going to help shape them the rest of the tournament.
Okay. Battle of 12 versus 13. I like to call these matchups when you get 2 low seeds that won the first round game. I like to call those Deborah Cox matchups because how did you get here?
Right. I got you. I like that. I didn't even think about that one.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I like to call them, Deborah Cox matchups. But Charleston versus Furman, which is a Deborah Cox matchup.
I'm gonna go with Furman because I think Furman has a little bit better offense.
Okay. And then we move down in the round of 32. Creighton, number 6 Creighton versus number 3 Baylor.
Baylor for me.
Okay. Finally, Mizzou versus number 2 Arizona. Number 7 Mizzou versus number 2 Arizona.
I'm gonna go Arizona.
Okay. And then to move on to the Sweet 16, which is where we are, to move on to the Elite 8, you have Alabama versus Furman, Baylor versus Arizona.
So I go Bama.
Okay.
And then I was go Baylor because that's the matchup I want to see.
Now, to go to what are we in? We're in the Elite 8.
No, I think we
No, we're in the Sweet 6. Nope. Yeah, we're in the Elite 8. We're in the Elite 8 right now.
Oh, that's right. Because I'm looking at it from the other standpoint.
I would love to get this banner out of the way. I want to say that's how I do it. Nope. That's not it. Yeah, I just made the banner big. I want it out of the way. Like I had this set up. I ran through this people like nonstop. But anyway, all right, you got Alabama versus Baylor.
This is probably the best game of the tournament, and I'm gonna go Alabama to come out of that.
If we get this matchup, mark my words, I stand on it, I guarantee it. Alabama's buck stops right there. I don't think they go all the way.
Wow.
And I'm saying that because I've seen it so many times where your number one runs into a team that they don't play very often. And they get punched in the mouth.
Yeah, this is a styles make fight type of thing.
Yeah. Yep. And they get punched in the mouth. And I mean, we got Alabama going to the Final Four. Your next region, what would you like? Midwest?
Hey, you doing all the heavy labor here, so you tell me what's next.
Well, I picked the first region because I didn't want to start off there. I meant to roll the dice and ask you, but East, West, or Midwest, which one you got? It's on you.
Well, let's fill out half the bracket and then let the two sides meet tomorrow. So let's go East.
Okay. Moving on East. Once again, we have another playing game here. What's that?
Texas Southern, maybe?
Texas Southern and FDU in the play-in game.
Fairleigh Dickinson. Okay.
So who's going to be the sacrificial lamb for Purdue to beat? I don't. If it's Fairleigh Dickinson, I'll take that, and I'll take them to beat Purdue.
Wow. Okay. You're very low on Purdue. I understand because it's a Big Ten team. More likely, they're not the most athletic team. If you can let their big shoot, let the big get his, and you take away everybody else, you kind of stop them. That's what you've seen teams do this last month, which is kind of why they struggled. So they're one of those teams that they're going to have their guards play their best ball game. And I don't know if their guards can do that. So you got them going out around sooner than I do. So I got Purdue here, but their next opponent knocks them out.
And this one right here, Friday, 9:20. This is a game I want to watch because it's Memphis versus FAU. I want to watch this game for various reasons.
Is my boy Penny still at Memphis?
If I'm not mistaken, he is.
So then I'm going Memphis.
See, that's why I said I wanted to watch this game because I want to see Penny on the big stage. I love to see former players, especially some of my favorite former players. He's a Memphis alum when they were called Memphis State at the time.
Right.
We went there, so I love that. That's a no-brainer.
Big point guard. He was definitely one of my guys.
Yeah.
He wasn't the elite level, but yeah, he was I had the one jersey in college because I think that was the year I had his number 1. I had Grant Hill's 33, and I had somebody else's jersey. And then literally the next season, all 3 teams switched the colors of their jerseys. Detroit went with the green. Orlando took away the pinstripes, and I forgot who the third person was, but whatever their jersey was, that got changed as well. All in one summer, all my jerseys became throwbacks.
All in one summer. Jeez.
Yep, that's the reason why. If you ever pay attention, that's the reason why all my jerseys have my name on the back now.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that's a brilliant idea. Brilliant. I always wanted a Atlanta Falcons jersey that said Mexico on the back, but that's banned by NFL Shop now.
Right.
If you don't know what that is, go search up Ron Mexico.
Right.
Number 5, Duke versus Oral Roberts, which takes place on Stone Cold Steve Austin Day. Oh hell yeah, 3/16. I'm
gonna pick Duke.
Yeah, and you know what?
I really don't have a good feeling about this one.
I don't either. But the reason why I say I'll pick Duke because Duke's going down the next round because they have a matchup either Tennessee versus Louisiana. Which one?
Raging Cajuns.
You taking them over everybody?
Nah, I'm going Tennessee.
Okay.
Because I went a little off the beaten path on the top half. So I try to sometimes balance the bracket out a little bit. So I think I'm gonna go a little chalk here, just a little bit. Not for long though.
All right.
Not for long.
Kentucky versus Providence. Here's the thing. I'm invested in this game because the coach of Providence. Damn, I can't even think of his name. I just had his name. Hold on. Providence basketball. Ed Cooley.
Yeah.
Ed Cooley is a main name that's being talked about to come to Georgetown to coach up on the hill. And speaking of which, I got to give my man Keith Franzese a big shout out for this because he tagged me in something. I thought I shared it to the Sideline Junkies page, but I did not see it. Geez, where the hell is it? He made a really, really good point. And I wanted to, here you go. I wanted to say something about it. He said, you have to throw out there. He had to throw this out there about Georgetown. They need to throw a blank check. And he put need in capital letters. They need to throw a blank check at Rick Pitino. I get that he has a lot of baggage on his docket, but at this point, Georgetown doesn't have the power to not, and that is in capital letters, not consider a big name. They can go with the up-and-coming younger guys, but they need to be brought back to relevance now. Cooley, Simpkins, English, up-and-comers, but they need a big name just for relevancy purposes. Just my 2 cents. And I thought about Rick Pitino. I thought about Cooley. That's why I want to watch this Providence game. I want to see what Cooley can do. I want to see how he coaches, how he interacts with his players. I want to see how deep he goes on his bench. That's always a big thing for me. And as big of a Phil Jackson fan I am, Phil Jackson didn't go deep into his bench in the playoffs. He maybe ran an 8-man rotation at that time, maybe.
That's what you're supposed to.
Yeah, you get shorter. But in during the regular season, he may have went 9 to 10 deep, maybe. But certain games.
So you play sports, you've been an athlete before, whether it's, and I always found it amazing that when we had, so of course I played some flag league stuff, DC and Virginia, but I always found it funny, like when we had like the full roster there, we always struggled because people had to figure out what to play and who was playing what. But whenever you had that, if you had, say it was 7-man football, a league where you had 7 on the field and you just had like 9 or 10, it seemed like we always played better with that 7 to 9 as opposed to whenever we had like 14. Because everybody knew their role and you knew the other person was going to do. And I think that's why coaches tighten up their lineups, because you know what certain guys are going to do in certain situations. You know what you're going to get. Like you already know if you look that man beside you in the eye, if he tied, he's going to give you everything he got. And I think that's a lot of times why it's easier when you play tighter rotations. Sorry about that tangent.
No. Because guess what? When you do that, you give a different aspect, and you never have to apologize for that because you give not only the player aspect, you give the coaching aspect. Most of the time, we give the player aspect, but now you give the coaching aspect. That brings another dimension to the discussion.
Yeah, I used to love it when we was. Like when I had even when I coached at Don Bosco, I used to love it when we was 7 or 8 because I knew what my 7 was going to give me, especially if I had my 2 Flumos and because those were my gangsters. So if somebody got out of pocket, I ain't have to call or look around. It was literally, I swear to God, one game somebody fouled one of our point guards, and the kid came running past me so fast and went to check in. And then we made eye contact, and I was like, all right, you know what to do.
All right, John Chaney.
He was like, he read my mind. I was dying laughing. I was like, yo, I had to turn and like face away from the sideline for a second because at first I was mad at him, like, who told you to get up? But then he kind of gave me this look like, I know what I got to do. So I was like, yeah, that's what you about to do. So go ahead.
All right, John Chaney. You know, hey, man. At the end of the bench, you know, you got to have a guy out there. You got to have a couple of goons.
Got to have a couple guys that's going to be willing to make it physical because basketball is a contact sport, as I always say.
Hey, the way they wear pads now, you would think it's football. But Kentucky versus Providence. I say Providence.
I've seen nothing that I've liked about this Kentucky team, so I'll go Providence as well.
All right. Kansas State versus Montana.
Hold on. Go ahead. Let me think about this one. Okay. I gotta see a certain person. I don't know if he's still coaching or if he's out. Is Jamie Dixon still at Kansas State?
Let me find out for you. Hold on.
Looks like he was there for a month ago, so he should be there. Or is he at TCU? Let's see.
TCU, baby.
He's at TCU. All right,
TCU.
so then that changes my thought process a little bit. I'm still go Kansas State because I liked what I saw when they were playing Baylor.
Now this next game, I ain't gotta ask you. You going H to the Izzo?
You know it.
I ain't gotta ask you that one. I don't like USC not one bit, but number 2 Marquette versus number 15 Vermont. I'm gonna go Vermont.
I gotta go Marquette because I think that's where my man Shaka is. I love Shaka. Shaka should be somewhere bigger, but sometimes black coaches, when they fall, they have to fall a couple levels.
Yeah.
But I love Shaka's another coach that, like, if Josh played basketball and Shaka was on the phone, that's another person that, yeah. It just couldn't be Shaka versus Izzo. But
all right. Now we ended around the 32. Number 1 Purdue versus number 8 Memphis. I say Memphis.
I totally agree because I think Memphis will make it an athletic ball game. I think they'll junk it up if I'm them. I'm gonna junk it up with some triangling 2, some boxing 1, trying to just show them a different look to kind of take their big man away from them.
See, I'm gonna say something because you just said something. The first thing I thought about, I would hate to play your damn ass in NCAA basketball anything.
Why you say that?
Because most people wouldn't be able to tell you about a fucking boxing 1.
Oh, dude. Quick sidebar. So I'm coaching JV at Bosco. We play in Montrose Christian at Montrose. Their JV team is JV versus JV. And we're struggling early. And then I swear to God, the second half, because I realized they only had 2 guys. They had 2 guys that could score. Everything else wasn't working. They weren't doing anything. So every time out, we came out in a different defense. We hadn't practiced many of them. So we ran for a 2-minute stretch. I ran boxing 1. For the next 2-minute stretch, I ran triangle and 2. Then we went man. Then I came back to the triangle and 2. Then we went 1-3-1. Like I literally switched defenses every time out because I knew that their coach had no leeway in his offense. Most time when you're a JV coach, you're coaching with the coach above does. So once you figure out the offense that the varsity runs, you can throw junk at them. And I always do it out of a timeout. So that way you're not even thinking about it. Because most people think you can come out, set up in something basic, but I'll always throw a defense in there. Or either we extend the defense John Thompson style and I'll press you, even if it's a soft press. But yeah.
Let me tell you something. You said that 1-3-1. I learned about the 1-3-1 the hard way. At least it was hard at first. Freshman in high school, wasn't nothing serious. Wasn't like I was playing for the basketball team. We were playing in gym. And dude was like, yeah, are we running zones? Let's run the 1-3-1. So me being the youngest, I'm running hole with the upper class. And he was like, nah, you check the ball up top. Okay. So the dude that, he had a hella handles. But everybody wanted to see me get yanked. But I had learned, the first way I learned how to play basketball was defense. How to make you go where I want you to go. And he tried it, and I picked his pocket, went down, laid it in. He came back again. He tried to do it again. I let him go by me, hit the Jason Kidd, let him go by, take the ball from him.
Right.
Now for another lay-in. He got a little frustrated. He was like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm letting you go where you want to go, letting you get by me, and then you expose the ball every time. Right. So nobody thinks about it. Everybody is so cool up that you got by him. I'm like, yeah, I want you to get by me because I'm gone. All I got to do is knock the ball loose.
Right.
And that right there, but the whole what is that? The 2-2-1 where the big man has to get back all the time.
Yep. We ran that too. Dog, I literally ran every defense known to man in that ball game. I went 1-2-2. I went 2-1-2. I went 2-2-1. I went 1-3-1 because I knew they weren't going to be smart enough. And I don't mean to say it this way, but they weren't going to be able to adjust on the fly enough because they were so handcuffed. That I ran every defense at them, and like one of the coaches, one of the kids' sons' dads was a coach. He was like, "Coach, I think you ran out of junk defenses." I was like, "Hey, if we got it, we gonna run it." And them jokers just trusted me, man. We almost won. We lost. I think we lost in OT.
Damn.
We lost in OT to them, but we beat the math at the math of JV.
Wow.
Yeah.
That says a lot when you go at the math and win. Most people don't walk out, no matter if it's JV or varsity. Most people don't walk in that building and walk out with a win.
Nah, we went old school basketball on them, but that's another day. Another story for another day.
All right, number 4 Tennessee versus number 5 Duke, and that was Coach's Corner, brought to you by Helen Hunt Motors. You need a good job. Go to Helen Hunt for it.
Tennessee.
Hey, I'm with that because I said if Duke gets past them and they got to face Memphis, Memphis is going to destroy Duke. Not that I don't believe in Duke, but I don't believe in Duke. Number 3 Kansas State versus number 11 Providence. I'm going Providence.
I think I would be going. I think I'm going Kansas State here, just because I'm just following. I'm gonna try to believe that the best conference in basketball will have the best because they've been tested and iron sharpens iron. I feel like they should have a good tournament, but they could be tired because they've been beating up on each other all season too. So it's kind of like the greatest conundrum.
Well, speaking of which, that's a great segue. Here's a conundrum from you. Not Marquette versus Michigan State. Shaka Smart versus Coach H to the Izzo.
So in this situation, I'm going to go with Marquette. Because I think Marquette just has better dogs. Like sometimes the athletes win out, and I think the athletes will win out here in Marquette.
What did you say?
I know, right?
And see, this is something that I didn't realize, and we'll have to get into this a lot tomorrow. They don't even have a matchup analysis for the first round games anymore. Like yesterday, they had all of this. They had the matchup analysis for everything. You're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me.
So where are we at now?
We are in the Elite Eight. Yep.
All right.
Let me get back where I'm sorry if I'm giving y'all vertigo. Memphis versus Tennessee. Number 4 Tennessee. Number 8 Memphis. I say Memphis.
I honestly think it's Tennessee.
You think this is the end of the line for the one?
I think this is one of those games. If that matchup happens, that's another one of those. When North Carolina was really athletic and they played that Cincinnati team, when I think that was '93 actually, because they had Fortson, they had all their dogs in Cincinnati. They were like all 6'5", and Van Exel was on that team. I think that team right there when they played Carolina, that was one of those games where you had two teams that were very athletic in certain spots. So yeah, I think this is that same kind of game where they're going to be so athletic. It's going to be an interesting ball game.
Well,
Marquette, Kansas State.
Yeah, you talk about interesting games. I think this will be an interesting game. Can Shaka Smart have another good run?
Yes.
So we're going Marquette.
Yeah.
All right. So we are now headed to the Elite. Well, this is for the Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee versus Marquette.
I'm gonna sound like a broken record. Marquette
it is. Okay, so that leaves our one side of our Final Four matchup, which is the champions of the South and the champions of the East. Champions of the South, Alabama, Crimson Tide, number 1 overall seed. Champion of the East, Marquette Golden Eagles, Gold, or whatever they're called now. They didn't change their name so many times. Alabama.
Did you get a Washington Post today?
Huh?
Did you get a Washington Post today?
No.
Okay.
What's in the Post today?
No, I can't remember if they do it today or if they do it like Thursday, but it's normally like a breakdown of all 64 teams in the paper, like either that Thursday morning paper, or it's either Wednesday or Thursday. I think it's in the paper, where they give you kind of like a precursor to March Madness, and they kind of talk you through some of the teams, because you don't always see all the teams, or like for me this year, I got like snippets of teams, so I'm gonna do a lot of, like, as you see and you watch this and you hear me out, a lot of this will come down to who I either believe in as a coach, or if I've seen the team, without seeing them, if I like them, I'm gonna push a lot of teams through. So on the other side, there's a team that I'm gonna push through that I just need their point guard to be healthy, and then I'm gonna end up with the same matchup again in the final two. Oh my gosh, this will be 4 brackets in a row.
All right.
I hate when I get in this mode.
So we going to Alabama versus Marquette to go on to the championship game, which will be played on April the 3rd at 9 p.m. I say Marquette. I don't even have Alabama going this far personally.
See, and I know that for a fact, and this is where I end up. I keep taking Alabama.
So you gonna run with Alabama here?
Unfortunately, I will. Yeah, I mean, I've done it the whole time so far. I gotta, this means I have to go somewhere and find some material, because I need to get myself off of Alabama, but I haven't been able to turn away. It's like a bad car crash.
Well, that is the first half of the bracket so far. Of course, like we said, we'll be back tomorrow night to do the other half, talk about the championship game. This was actually a shorter show so far than what I thought. So we got a little time. Would you like to get into some NFL free agency?
Sure, why not?
All right.
So the first thing I always find funny about this is we have the I guess that we have the tampering period. You could call it the August Alsina, the entanglement, whatever you want to call it. But I find it funny that supposedly this window opens up at 12 p.m. Right? I'm not being crazy, but it's supposed to start at 12 p.m.
Yes.
But like at 12:05, we got deals popping out right away. So if you weren't supposed to be, if this is the tampering period, how we got deals already?
Hey.
But I know how we got deals is because everybody was at the combine. They was going to Tony's or whatever the steakhouse is in Indianapolis. They sat down, they get their drink, and there's an agent somewhere nearby, and he was like, "Hey man, I got this guy. He's a guard. I know you need a guard. We just looking for 4 years, 72. What you think?" You know what I'm saying? They rub the potion, put the potion in the GM's ear, like, hey, maybe. Maybe there's some text messages. I ain't going to speculate too much, but 12:05, we got deals popping out. Today was crazy. Like 12 o'clock hit, and like literally it was just like ping, 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 ping. I'm just glad I got the Athletic, because the Athletic's a little slow on the trigger. So theirs was a little bit later. Like I got to 12:20 before I heard the first ping. But meanwhile, my coworker's like, "Yeah, this is happening, because he was on Twitter." So,
I got it from ESPN. My ESPN app goes off quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So,
starting
at AMC, huh?
Do you want to do particular teams, or we going?
I'm just
do local.
I got a couple of main names. Just I don't know how the boss BJ gonna feel about this one. Matt Milano signed a 2-year extension through 2026. I talked to him last night. He's not too happy about Jalen Ramsey trade, which is not official yet. Won't be official to the 15th. His trade to the Miami Dolphins for a 2023 third-round pick and tight end Hunter Long. He said something early in the season. He said Miami's going to wind up winning the division next year. It's absolutely what he said. But I told him, I said, we're talking about Jalen Ramsey. I said Jalen Ramsey was solid this year, but this ain't the Jalen Ramsey from Jacksonville.
All Miami needs is, but Miami's issue is if they can get Russo and Bradley Chubb to get them a consistent pass rush, and you can get Tua to remain somewhat healthy. I mean, they make the playoffs if Tua is healthy. Yeah. You know, he doesn't get that third concussion. So I really think that's the key. And then that's going to be their key. And I think they're the team. They did something real good today by getting Mike White. And it's going to be undervalued. And people aren't going to talk about it because they're going to talk about Jalen Ramsey. But Mike White, in the times he's played, has put up decent numbers. And I think that's going to be a situation where if something happens to Tua, he's a little bit better than Bridgewater and company. I think Bridgewater is just long in the tooth. And I think he can possibly get them in situations because this is going to be the best receivers he's ever had with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Mm-hmm. So they can get, and then you get Gesicki. So all they got to do is run the ball. If they can run a little bit and let Mike White pick his parts, pick his moments, I think that's a bigger signing than anything else today for Miami.
BJ said, you know, well, now they have Xavier Howard on one side and Jalen Ramsey on the other. And I told him, I said, look, Xavier Howard's good, but his nickname should be Toast on a lot of plays because he got dusted last year.
Well, they're one of the few teams that play a lot of man. So you can't really, things happen, you know, in the course of the game. And I really think, with Byron Jones, I think his career is over. Because he was talking about his knees, and I think he has a situation where he's just not going to be able to come back from that knee injury that he had. So that's why the Jalen Ramsey move happened. So it's going to be interesting.
Of course, like always, we're going to keep an eye on that because I'm interested. Mm-hmm. The Jets signed Quincy Williams to a 3-year extension. 3-year, $18 million deal that maxes out at $21 million with incentives. Seems kind of low, but hey, they signed him. Let's see.
He's their backup linebacker though, because you're playing CJ. Is it CJ Mobley, the linebacker that used to be in Baltimore?
Yeah,
CJ Mosley. Yeah, so he's their main guy, and then everybody else is kind of like party decorations. And then you sitting behind his big brother or his little brother, Quentin.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Patrick Peterson signed a 2-year deal, $14 million, $5.85 million guaranteed with the Steelers. Case Keenum still has a job.
He's gonna keep getting jobs.
With the Texans, huh?
So he's gonna keep getting jobs.
Yeah, and I think he's a good quarterback, but he just need the right fit. He has Robert Woods down there with him now. He signed a Case Keenum 2-year, $6.25 million contract. Robert Woods 2-year, $15 million contract. CJ Beathard stays in Jacksonville, 2-year, $4.5 million contract. Evan Ingram received a non-exclusive franchise tag. Let me see. I'm scrolling through here. Jawan Taylor signing a 4-year, $80 million deal, $60 million guaranteed with the Kansas City Chiefs.
I think that has a chance to blow up in their face. Because I think they're talking about moving him to left. And I think he's more of a right tackle guy.
Jimmy Garoppolo, 3 years, $72 million contract, which includes $24.25 million in year one. To the Raiders.
Familiarity, baby.
Do you think? And I asked the question: does it make them better or does it make them worse?
I think they stay right where they are. But I think it helps to have Garoppolo because he knows he's going to know more of what McDaniel wants, and I think that might be the difference between. It might be what hurt him and Carr was because they just couldn't get on the same page, and Carr maybe didn't understand certain situations when he called certain stuff. Maybe Carr wanted something else. That's how I felt about it. And I think this is the what is the word? The devil you know is better, or the I'm about to butcher this saying. It's better to deal with the devil you know than the one you don't.
I can agree with that. However, what I can't agree with, Josh Jacobs getting a non-exclusive franchise tag instead of the Raiders giving him a damn deal. I'm sorry.
Do I start?
You go ahead. I'm just a little emotional.
Because you know what I'm going to say, right? He's a running back.
Yeah, he's a running back. But Tony Pollard got a non-exclusive franchise tag as well from Dallas.
I would have never done that either. We'd have been in Dallas. We'd have been starting over. I'd have gone with my man, the kid from Tulane, Tajay Spears, or I'd have gone Jahmyr Gibbs, and that's running back one. And then later on in the draft, I'd have gone and got Roxon Johnson from Texas. That's my big back. Or I'd go get Muhammad Ibrahim from Minnesota, because now he's 2 years off of the knee injury at the end of the season. That's another guy that's going to be a dog once he gets in the league. Power back. He ain't running away from nobody, but he's going to be a factor back. I see him going to New England.
New England.
New England like Minnesota running backs. Lawrence Maroney.
Yes. We already know about Daniel Jones signing his deal. Saquon Barkley received a non-exclusive franchise tag. Sterling Shepard, 1 year, $1.3 million deal.
Key situations for me.
Jason Kelce announced his intent to return to the Eagles in 2023. Brandon Graham signed to a 1 year deal for $6 million. Washington Commanders, let's come home.
That's actually a glue guy deal too. I like that. I'm bringing Graham back.
Yeah,
because Graham is one of those guys. I watched All In, that 2019 season. I just finished watching that for like the third time this week. Brandon Graham's wife is, oh my gosh, like the fee. But I digress.
I'm not the only one, ladies and gentlemen. Andrew Wiley signed to Washington for a 3 year, $24 million contract. Nick Gates, 3 years, $16.5 million, with a max value of $18 million, includes $8 million in guarantees. Deron Payne, 4 year, $90 million contract, $45 million fully guaranteed. Cody Barton signed a 1 year fully guaranteed contract. David Mayo signed a 1 year extension. Cameron Dantzler claimed off of waivers from the Vikings. And we are re-signing Danny Johnson to a 2 year deal up to $7 million with $2.75 million guaranteed.
So I think, let's see, how do you want to start this? So I think the Wiley deal is smart because you're only paying $8 million for a guy that's either going to be your starting tackle or your starting guard. So that's not going to be an issue. The Gates kid, I'm a little nervous about just because FedEx Field is where he had his bad injury. And then who's left? Who am I thinking about? The two corners. Dantzler has struggled, but I think Dantzler's better in a zone. So this could be a good fit for him. Johnson, bringing back something familiar. The linebacker kid, I know he had like 100 tackles last year. They say he's a good coverage linebacker. So I'm going to be interested to see what happens with the Khaleke Hudsons and the Eiflers of the world, because I think those guys really helped our coverage teams. And I hope we find a way to use their speed to make some plays on Sunday outside of the kick game.
Agreed. With Chicago, we already talked about DJ Moore last show. Tremaine Edmonds signed a 4 year, $72 million contract, includes $50 million guaranteed.
So they won't go in and smack somebody and say "fuck you" or what? Because that deal sounds like the same deal you would give Roquan. So I really don't. I really don't get that one. I said that earlier today when I was talking to my coworker. I was like, if you draft the kid and maybe he just said he doesn't want to be there. Maybe that's what came from that conversation, or he didn't like the way he's being used. But that one was kind of threw me off a little bit, because I thought they would go a different route if they wouldn't. And then the biggest key in this thing is you got DJ Moore, Mooney, but you got to figure out what Chase Claypool you're going to get. Are you going to get the guy that wants to be a superstar and a great football player, or you get the guy that just wants to pout and cry and think he should be given everything. So I wonder about that. And that's hard for me to say because he's a Golden Domer, but I did not like his petulant child routine in Pittsburgh.
He wore out his welcome, so he had to go. Same thing with Juju.
Right.
Wore out his welcome, had to go.
And that's the crazy part. Like, you can't. How does that happen? With a team that just manufactures wide receivers, because their coach played wide receiver in college, so he knows a little something about playing wide receiver. He sees certain traits in guys.
I agree. Craig Reynolds re-signed with Detroit. Cameron Sutton signed with Detroit, 3-year, $33 million, includes $21.5 million guaranteed.
So he's gonna play part of the slot.
Probably.
I think they're gonna draft because they're 6 or 7, and they still have that pick when it comes up. That's where the first corner goes off the board, I think. Because you got to make a decision on Okuda. I think he's coming into his 4th year, or maybe even his 5th year. So he becomes a decision. So if you layer your talent like you're supposed to, all signs point to cornerback first round for me for them.
Safety Von Bell signing with the Panthers. We talked about Derek Carr ad nauseum and how he's just became probably the best quarterback in the NFC South. So Sam Darnold got a 1-year contract from the San Francisco 49ers.
That's the best move he could have made. Because he goes to a coach that if you can be competitive with CJ Beathard and Nick Mullins, and you still in ball games, Sam Darnold's got more talent than those guys. So you just show him certain things, or you tell him certain things, and I think he can get the most out of him, just like he did Brock Purdy.
So where do we go with Trey Lance?
Trey Lance has shown you that he has a propensity to always be hurt. So I think he only starts next season just because whatchamacallit is going to be out with his UCL surgery. So I'd put Brock Purdy and have him come back in week 6, and you got to start the season with Lance and Darno. You can't really get rid of him; it's too soon. Yeah. Not too soon, but it's not a situation where you can be profitable getting rid of him because you still have a need at quarterback because your quarterback is not going to be ready right away.
Draft day trade. Hey, you want something? Scratch my back, I scratch your back.
Yeah, but you're not getting a 1. You're not getting a 1. You're not getting a 2. At best, you're getting a conditional 3 because the kid hasn't played enough ball games. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong on that. But I wouldn't give up more than a conditional 3. Are we lagging? Am I lagging?
Didn't have the cap. That he get me.
I missed a lot of what you just said, so I think it might be on my end. I'm not exactly sure.
Oh.
So I think it might be on my end.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Well, let's wrap this thing.
All right.
Yep. Last night, so
you're chopping.
$75 million deal. I think that is deserved, and I think I know what it was. Daughter decided to leave her laptop plugged up, so I think it might have heated up my laptop. But I think we got it.
Yeah.
There we go. But Geno Smith, 3 years, $75 million contract, 105 at max value. I think it's well deserved.
I think he falls right in line with everybody else. So he gets about what Danny Dimes, Derek Carr, and company. So I think it's right I think he's in the right spot. Because he's gonna be your starter week 1. So yeah.
Well, we've come to the end of our show. We did it in under an hour, which is great. However, we get to come back tomorrow and get to do it all over again because we got 2 more regions to knock out so we can build up this championship game. Please, if you haven't already, I'll be sharing the link. But join our pool, jump in that thing, put your bracket in, see what you can do. Just want to see what everybody got to say. So until next time, that's the Midnight Rider. I'm the big guy, KG. You know our motto, baby. We don't do no overtime. And look at that clock. You can tell we don't. We get off 5 minutes early. We are out of here.